Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing, and something a little bit different this time around. Yes, we are going to profile a person. That is indeed Todd Clark, who has 30 years of experience in designing new and renovated golf courses for both private and public facilities. But also, it's Masters Week, and we're going to talk golf course design, the golf course business, the state of the game of golf right now, because 2020, one of the few things that we've seen that's been anywhere near half decent or good in this particular year has been the fact that a lot of people have returned to the game of golf and gotten outside and started to play again. And a lot of that has to do with the great people who serve the game, the golf course superintendents, the golf course designers, and certainly Todd Clark is one of the best in this area, and he is involved with so many great projects. He built some of the best golf courses around here in Kansas City in the building boom of the late 1990s, like Falcon Ridge and Falcon Valley and Prairie Highlands and Winterstone and courses like that. And now, with the industry more in a renovation-type mode, he is involved with some of the more iconic golf courses in Kansas City. We are blessed, as I'll say often to him, to have so many great ones, but from Wolf Creek to Indian Hills to Oakwood to Millburn, all kinds of renovations going on and tweaks being made to fantastic golf courses to make them up to the standard that people tend to expect these days. It's a great time for the game of golf. The Masters gets everybody involved in the game of golf, people who hardly pay attention to golf all year long. Pay attention to the Masters and Augusta National, and we'll talk a lot of Augusta National on this too. So it'll be a pleasure to get into something that's a big passion of mine. That's golf course architecture and, well, golf period, with Todd Clark, a registered landscape architect and golf course architect as well, and he of CE Golf Design joins us next for a great conversation about a great game, and it comes your way next. We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices, and we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426, but the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com. Put your information in and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com and let Chad help you. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Todd, it's a pleasure to talk to you. It's such a timely time of the year in golf. Of course, golf these days is front and center on about everything. One of the only good things about the year 2020, we'll get back into that a little bit later on. But tell me about your upbringing and maybe how the seeds were sown for you to do what you do.
Danny, thanks. I got my career started it goes back to my dad, and my dad was a club pro. He was an assistant pro out at Indian Hills Country Club. And then when we were kids, we grew up in Lenexa. We owned a 9-hole sand green golf course out in Bonner Springs. And so golf was always kind of in the family. So I was more interested on the maintenance side and curious about taking care of a golf course and the sand greens and that whole concept, which is very unique today. And then I went off to, always wanted to do something outside, and then I went to Kansas State University in landscape architecture, and then I got into the golf course design side when Dick Nugent came down and interviewed, was looking for some people, and then he made me an offer to go up and work for him in Chicago in 1990 as an internship, and I've been doing it ever since. So that's kind of Dick Nugent is the guy that got me hooked on this career and passion of golf course design, and now it's been almost 30 years since I started this.
Well, it certainly has been a great run, and just tell me a little bit about you as a young golfer. You said you were more interested in the maintenance side of it, but you must have played.
I did play. We had I never really got hooked on the game until probably college. I always played. We grew up in Lenexa, and we always played at the Overland Park Golf Course, the Sykes Lady Golf Course now, and played in the junior tournaments, and always would go out to the golf course with my dad, and he's always trying to teach you how to hit the ball a certain way and go out and play. And so we played as a kid, but I didn't really get hooked on the game until more in college, and then I started to focus on more of it. I'm just I consider it an amateur golfer. I got like 11 to 12 handicap. Been lucky. I've had a couple hole-in-ones back when I was younger, and today it's fun to get out and just to play. What I really enjoy today about playing is my dad is 77 now, and he plays from the senior tees, and he'll still shoot in the 70s, 80s. And then my son, who's 26, he plays from the back tees, and I play from the men's tee in the middle. And that's what's great about the game of golf is you got 3 different ages and generations there, and it can be a very competitive match when you go out and play. So that's what I enjoy about the game.
Talk about developing into the golf course design area specifically as your own business. Obviously, Dick Nugent is a very respected Midwestern golf course architect, but how did the path lead you to start to do things on your own, at first in concert with Greg Schreiner, but just tell us a little bit about the path to actually becoming a full-time, full-blown golf course architect.
Well, so like I said, I went and did an internship in 1990 with Dick, and then he made me an offer to come back. He said, I'm going to make you an offer. Here's the deal. I'm going to pay you $100 a week, and this is my last year in college, and, that'll get you through your senior year. The only stipulation is you have to graduate. So I pulled that off. I graduated and got married and went to Chicago, and then my wife and I were both from Kansas City. We were like, hey, we need to get back home to Kansas City. And my dad, his company was Clark Enterprises. He's in the water treatment business. He said, why don't you come back to Kansas City and try to go out and go on your own as a golf course architect, and then you can work for the family business a little bit. And so in the summer of 94, I moved back to Kansas City, and I was starting to do some stuff, and then I ran into Craig Schreiner. I called him. I said, hey, I'd like to come in and meet with you, introduce myself, and we shook hands, and I walked out with a set of drawings. And at that time, we were just starting the whole design for Falcon Ridge, and Craig was busy. We were prepping for Oak Hill, the Ryder Cup, back in 94, 95 at the time. And then Craig and I worked together from 94, 95 until 2003. So we pretty much worked on a handshake arrangement. And I ran the office and covered the jobs in the Midwest, and he went off and covered jobs on the East Coast. So that's kind of how I kind of started cutting my teeth and doing it as my own. And then we split, and I got a partner, Brent Hugo, that we're actually cousins. I brought him on board in 95 to do all the production, the CAD work, the drawings. And Brent and I are still together. So Brent and I are partners in CE Golf Design, and we've just been doing it ever since. So, and really since Craig and I went our separate ways in 2003, we've been focusing on today, they're not building new golf courses. So we focusing on all the renovations, major renovations. We work at a lot of the clubs in Kansas City, but we mainly work throughout the central part of the states, renovating golf courses today.
When you started to develop your own golf courses or worked in concert with Craig, what would you consider your philosophy, or what were some of your influences as far as golf course design is concerned?
I think probably what I learned, my philosophy and influence, I probably got that from Dick Nugent is, Dick was good when I was up there working for him. We would sit down, and when we did design, like when I did Harborside International, we would take each hole and go through, set them up in the conference room. We'd pin them up on the wall, and we go through and we talk about grading and drainage and maintenance and how golfers move on and off from the cart path to the green and access, and how that kind of influenced your design and your strategy. And then, from there, you'd always start working the holes backwards and coming up with different concepts and what the character of the golfers can be like. I think probably my biggest strength was probably routing golf courses. I did all the drawings and everything for Craig. And when I hooked up with Craig, we were struggling. There was kind of a layout for Falcon Ridge, and we rerouted it and changed some holes around. And that's probably the biggest strength that I bring, is trying to look at a piece of property and figure out how to maximize it and really make the golf course fit into the terrain without doing a lot of earthwork. So that's probably something that makes me a little bit unique and different. And maybe that's my landscape architecture background, and then just how I look at a piece of property.
I remember walking Prairie Highlands when it was first about to be opened, and I did the tour. It was probably really one of my biggest introductions to learning more about golf course architecture. I'm not going to say I'm any kind of a whiz kid about it or anything like that, but I do have a really deep-seated interest in it, and I went around with Craig, and we went hole to hole to hole. One thing I do remember is he said it was a very walkable golf course, and I eventually called BS on that. But anyway, but it was fascinating to listen to somebody who designed and the ideas that they have in their head. So it sounds like more like he was the guy who thought about the holes, and you were the guy who thought about the big picture. Is that fair?
Yeah, Craig. The way Craig and I worked a lot is Craig was. I learned a tremendous amount from Craig when it got to maybe a little bit more about the history of the game and how to sell and how to go out and do presentations to different clubs. Craig and I did a lot of that, And then my job was kind of produce the drawings, figure out the green details and the design. When you talk about Prairie Highlands out there, I was one of the managing partners with Craig and then David Francis. The three of us were kind of the managing partners of that whole project. And I helped secure the ground. And we ended up getting 183 acres for $1,000 to go build that thing. And then we brought in the Dunnick brothers to build it. And we even designed the clubhouse out there. And we had our design office in there. And what's funny today is we just kind of moved our design office back into the clubhouse. It has a new ownership group, Great Life, Kansas City. They own it now. They bought it from David Francis. And so Brent and I are back in the original clubhouse and the original design office that we started out with Craig. So it's kind of come full circle after almost 17 years now.
And do you have any kind of idea, in thinking about Prairie Highlands, Winterstone, a couple of the courses that were built during that span of time, Falcon Ridge also maybe kind of fits into that. It seems like the courses are somewhat friendly off the tee, and then the design becomes a little more challenging as the hole goes along. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's a fair assessment. I think, you can talk about like Prairie Highlands back in, let's say when we built that started in the late 90s and early 2000s, the theme was a little bit bigger and bolder, and it was like make the fairways wide, kind of start putting the challenge in. We get to the greens, try to make it fair, make it playable for all levels. And we just renovated both Falcon Ridge and Prairie Highlands. And today, this is where technology has changed. The golfers are hitting it so much farther with all the equipment, everything that's out there. A lot of the bunkers we put in, almost 20 years ago are in the wrong position today. So we just went back and did a major renovation of both these golf courses. And we've also reduced the size of the bunkers. I mean, when we built Prairie Highlands, we had 110,000 square feet of sand bunkers. We did that because sand was cheap. We just used the local sand.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have all these new liners. We didn't have the fancy sand, the white sand that's very angular and drains well, and it's very expensive when we poured in from either Ohio or Arkansas. And so we took Prairie Highlands, for example, and we took it down to bunkers to almost 40,000 square feet. So we dramatically reduced it, but then we pushed the bunkers out farther and got them in the right position. And I think today Prairie Highlands is better than when we built it, almost 20 years ago, just because of the positioning in the bunkers and getting them in the right spot. So it protects the greens and it will frame the tee shot and things like that. So that's kind of what we're seeing today and how the game has changed.
You are renovating some and are continuing to renovate some of the more venerable golf courses in Kansas City and highly respected. Basically, there's so many good golf courses in our Kansas City area. We are very fortunate in that regard. But places like Wolf Creek and Indian Hills, these are, long-standing, very well-respected. Milburn. Milburn's my favorite golf course in Kansas City, as a matter of fact. Sorry, other ones. But anyway, when you're working with a place that people have so much affection for and respect, what kind of challenge is it? What do you feel like when you're going on the grounds like that? When you're working on Prairie Highlands or Winterstone or one of those, you did those, so you're not treading on someone else's ground. But what's it like when you're working on a place like Milburn, say?
It is. Milburn is different. That's a Langford design. William Langford, and then they just celebrated their centennial. It's 100 years. It was, and it was built in 1917. So in 2017 they had it the 100 year, and we started working out there. The way we got involved with Milburn, actually, I caddied at Milburn when I was a kid. I went to China Mission West. My brother and a bunch of his friends that were all west, we were all caddies out there. I did it for a few years, and I got busy with sports. And so Milburn's kind of a neat place, just seeing it from as a kid to now. We started working there before the clubhouse got on fire. We were starting to work on a tree removal plan, and we were working with Randy Hunt at the time. He was the GM, and Bill Maynard, he was the golf course superintendent. And we had just started taking out some trees, and the next thing you know, you see the clubhouse on fire. And at that time, what we did is all of a sudden I went in a few days after that and presented them with a plan saying, hey, you guys you're going to have to build a new clubhouse. Think about this. And we came up with the concept of moving the clubhouse in making their driving range longer, changing everything. And from that time on, that fire really has changed that golf course. It's allowed them to get current, allowed them to update and build a new clubhouse. It was able to give them their short game area and the driving range and all that stuff that every club wants today. And then we finally got into doing the bunkers and all that. And the biggest thing is, going back to your questions, you take like a Langford or a Ross or, even a Tillinghast like we're working at over at Indian Hills, and you look at what those architects did, 100 years ago, and you try to take those principles and apply it. Langford design, the bunkers are, typically like Lasonia Golf Course up in Wisconsin. Those bunkers are going to be down. The sand's going to be down a little bit lower. It has the grass space. Well, things have changed a little bit. What we did out of Millburn is we tried to, today, it's easier to keep the sand up on the faces and give it some character. So we changed the bunker look out there from a Langford design a little bit to try to create its own character. But we also try to preserve the routing and the character of those greens just because of who did the original design. So anytime we get into touching an old classic golf course like that, we're very sensitive to that. And the problem is the game's changed so much, Danny. You know it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I hit the ball, tee shot, almost as far as I did as a kid. I mean, the 7 irons are still going now 160 yards, and you're going, wow, and that's all technologies and the golf ball. It's hard to design for these young college golfers today, and they just hit the ball a long ways, and it really impacts how we design golf courses and the overall maintenance of them too.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in receiving a prestigious award.
Danny, we've been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award from Integrity Doctors. And what this means is that all of our offices throughout Kansas City have made sure to give people excellent chiropractic and acupuncture care, be on time, and do a very complete and thorough job, and have great responses back from patients.
I know firsthand because I was just treated, for instance, today by you. You have a wide range of fantastic services.
Absolutely. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies, rehab, anything that you need to keep you well in bones, muscles, joints, and nerves.
And I can't say how much it's benefited me in the time I've coming here. Upwards of 2 years, my back has improved 100%. And you can have that same kind of treatment too. For more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, visit asfca.com/Danny today. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit RecExpert.com and learn more.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML-830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new Smart Laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkScale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Our guest is Todd Clark. He is a golf course designer, long-standing golf course designer, and his company is CE Design, and they are, as he mentioned, doing a whole bunch of renovations of various golf courses around Kansas City and around the Midwest and around the country, for that matter. And you mentioned the length of golf courses, and I think even people who really don't have any disaffection for people hitting the ball tremendous distances and the equipment being fine-tuned to help people do that. But in the end, we only have a finite amount of land. Do you think that I guess that I don't really mind if somebody hits the golf ball a long way, but it seems like it's becoming too important that you hit the ball long. The other aspects of the game seem to be suffering in that regard. If all you're doing is hitting driver wedge all the time, then doesn't that change the character of the game? And maybe more importantly for a golf course architect, you can't, 9,000-yard golf courses are going to create landlock.
It is. This is a struggle we deal with all the time. Here, I would say probably about 10 years ago. Well, Ron Whitten with Golf Digest. Ron and I are good friends.
Right.
We're actually collaborating together on Oakwood. And Ron will admit today that when he developed the top 100 and the Golf Digest list, he goes, he created a monster. He goes, what happened is everybody wanted to go out and build a longer, harder golf course to get into the magazine, to get it ranked and get it rated in your state, or to be on the top 100. And ultimately what that did is that just kept pushing that envelope out farther. The golf courses became longer and harder. And then here, I would say probably about 10 years ago, we started seeing some of a trend change where some people finally started going, hey, we're not worried about the distance. I got some clubs now that are just saying, you just get it to fit. The benchmark was always get it above the 7,000 yards or get it to 7,200 yards. And now we're working at some clubs, and I'll use the field club of Omaha. It's like a par 68. It's like 5,800 yards long, and there's a street. It's an old classic golf course, and they love it. They love it that it's shorter. So we are still seeing now some people going, hey, we're not worried about the distance so much. Just make it a quality golf course. Try to get all the features like the greens and the bunkers. Try to get them as best you can, and then we'll just deal with that the golf course being shorter. So we have some of those clients and some of those courses we work on, and then what we're doing out here, what Ron and I are doing together at Oakwood for Mr. Block, is he purchased Oakwood Country Club here at the beginning of this year, and now we're doing right in the middle of major renovation. We've been working on it all this year, and then we'll continue into next year, and we're going to take Oakwood from being 6,400 yards long with some very hilly terrain, as you probably know. You've probably played it
many times.
And now we are actually adding new golf holes south of the irrigation lake and building a new 4th and 5th hole. And then he purchased some more property, and then we're going to build a new par 3 14th and the 15th hole. And when we're done next year, this golf course will be almost 7,200 yards long. So we've picked up, close to 800 yards out here. And on this terrain, it's going to change this golf course in the Kansas City area for sure. And Ken's, Mr. Block's idea there was, I need to be able to accommodate all levels of golfers. Curtis Yonke, we've been out there. So he's been out here several times. He's a member out here. He's hitting tee shots all over to see how far the ball's carrying. And I'm sitting there watching Curtis hit shots, and he's hitting shots on these new holes that are like, he's cutting the corner over the trees, and he's hitting it 320, 330. I'm like going, and it's still a wedge in. I mean, they hit a wedge so far. I said, this is just hard to design for it. And so that's what I try to do, is get the balance between what I consider an average golfer like myself, and then try to figure that out for the seniors and the women and the kids, and then try to come up with something that works for all levels. I think that's the key to being a good golf course architect, is how do you make it enjoyable for all levels? So like my dad can play, or a guy like Curtis Yonke can go out and play, and they enjoy the golf course.
Well, this year, the golf course traffic is up incredibly, as a lot of people have returned to the game. It was the only thing you could do outside, or the only thing you could do, period, for a long time. People took up the game who maybe never would have. So I guess what I would be saying is that there's probably a lot more golfers who don't have great aptitude, potentially, but they love being outside and they love doing that. Do you think that's going to have some impact on, the fact that it maybe should be a little bit easier for people like that, or it's affecting maybe building more short courses? How do you think 2020 will impact the game?
2020 is going to have a major impact. I think what we're seeing today, first, this is the busiest year I've had. We have probably 13 different golf course projects in different stages of either from design, master planning, to construction, or to long-term planning or something like that. So we've been working, we work throughout the central part of the United States, and people are looking at this and going, wow, what are we doing? The COVID issue and what's going on with 2020 is forcing people to get out and get reconnected with the game of golf. And I think that trend is, even when the pandemic's over and the COVID everything, I think people are going to continue playing, because I think they're going to realize they enjoyed the game and they're out there having a good time, and it's a great recreation. And, a lot of people I've been talking to on these golf courses, on average today, they're not really worried about their score. They're saying, hey, I'm out with family, or I'm out with friends. If I shoot a 92 or bogey golf, it was a great day. So I think it is going to change the way we think about design. We do a lot of work for the city of Overland Park, which is one of the busiest golf courses in the Kansas City area. And Doug Melchior over there he's the golf course superintendent, or the director of the whole facility. Their rounds are through the roof. They're doing rounds like they saw back in the 90s, and it's crazy. And I think people just want to have a fun golf course that's in good shape, and they just want to go out and they don't want to get beat up. And so we're seeing that with some of our designs. So we see quite a range, I think, from going from the Oakwoods or the Milburns, or even the Canyon Farms, where we've done work over there, down to the Overland Park golf courses, or some of them that are a little bit shorter that you just want to make them enjoyable.
Well, don't jazz up Canyon Farms too much. That's hard enough as it is, man. I've played dozens of rounds of golf there. So
Canyon Farms is a very difficult. We did not do the original design, and that is a very challenging golf course. Mark Newton out there, he's a friend, and the Klossmans with the Great Life Group, they've invested a lot of money into that. We've helped them out with their bunkers, and like the water fountain on 3 and the driving range. And I keep telling them when we have all of our meetings, we need to make that golf course more playable so they can attract more families, because right now that's a very demanding golf course. The greens, he keeps them firm and fast. Mark does a great job over there. And then you throw in the terrain, and some of the trees are really tight with trees. That doesn't need anything else to make that golf course hard. That's for sure. It's
a beautiful, beautiful golf course, but it is difficult. I often think, I don't know how a 20 handicapper comes out here and plays if you go through 24 golf balls. But anyway,
I know.
That's a subject for
I go out there and I can play, and you have to be playing really good. If I go out there and play really good, I'll shoot in the upper 80s or low 90s. But if you're off and the wind's blowing, you're losing golf balls, and you're in triple digits real quick. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, every shot is a double bogey waiting to happen. That's for sure. But we have as I said, we're blessed with such wonderful golf courses. We could tick them off one after another. Of course, as we speak, it's the week of a fall Masters. You've been on that property on multiple occasions. First of all, to help out the listener as he goes through this weekend, and of course we sit here on Friday now, we're going to hear, and we have heard, the words overseed, or the word overseed, a million times, and just yeah, you're not a superintendent, but obviously your golf course designer has to deal with things like that. What exactly do they do in a situation of overseeding?
Well, so to give you an idea, so Augusta's down in Georgia, Augusta National is, and so really that golf course is all Bermuda grass.
Right.
And because it's in the south. And what they do is usually come in the fall time, they go and they plane it with ryegrass. And they get it so it's nice and pristine and beautiful like you see on TV. So they start that process early, and then come springtime, when they always have it in the springtime in April, then it looks perfect. The azaleas are out and everything's great. Well, this year I think they just had to bump it up a little bit and get it going and make sure the overseeding took, because it takes a transition period to get it seeded, get it growing in, and to have it to look great. In the golf course, to have it look nice in the fall, because the members play it in the fall down there, that won't be the problem. And actually, I think the golf course will probably, it's going to be a little firmer and drier just because it's the fall compared to the springtime. And I think that'll, the balls will probably run out a little bit more, which will make it a little bit different. And then the temperatures are going to be maybe a little bit warmer, depending on what the weather is. But that's going to be the biggest difference between doing it this fall and what they traditionally do in the springtime. So the overseeding is a very common practice that they do in the South, just to make it look good and overseed it with ryegrass.
So
I don't know, Dan, have you been down there to
No,
Augusta?
I have not. I have not been to Augusta. So
yeah, it is. You talk about the overseeding it's just perfect. I mean, they go through and they overseed it, and it's unbelievable. I went back. I took my dad and my cousin Brent's father down there back in, I think it was in 2009. And that was our first time, or 2008, that I went down there. And it's hard to describe, because you see it on TV, you read the articles, you look at the videos, and you just getting an idea of the elevation change is just unbelievable. And I try to compare it to places around here that people can relate to. Some of the holes, like the 10th hole, you're talking like the elevation, like if you take number 4 at Falcon Ridge. Those are the type of drops in elevation that you're talking about. It's more severe than what it looks like on TV. And then some of the shots, like when you get to the 9th hole and you're down below and you're hitting up to a plateau green, or even on 18, on 18 the green will be blind. I mean, that terrain those are hard shots, hitting up to these elevated greens sitting way up. And I mean, the terrain is a major factor down there. And that's what I think everybody's just shocked by when they see it for the first time is that. So
yeah, and I haven't been to Augusta National, but I've been to enough golf courses that that they have tournaments at to know. Like I went to the tournament in Hartford a million times because I'm from the East Coast, and there's a par 4 on the backside, and I mean it's straight down like off a cliff, and on TV it just looks like it's a gentle little thing. I think you can almost like triple what you think you see on TV as far as elevation changes when you're watching a golf tournament on television.
Oh, you can. Well, and what doesn't show in Augusta National in the contrary of the greens. I mean, you talk about how severe some of these greens are, and until you go down and see them, I've been lucky enough to go down, and I've gone to the Berkman's place. It's a hospitality area for the members to entertain their guests, and it's unbelievable. It's just off the 5th hole, and they have some replica greens, the famous greens out there, like 16 and some of the other ones. And you actually get some of the caddies, some of the older caddies, and they're kind of reduced down a little bit, but they take you around and allow you to hit some of the famous putts, like on 16. You see the break and the contraring, and until you putt on them and you see them live, the movement's unbelievable. I came back, I told Brent Hugo, my partner, I said, okay, if we build any of these greens like this on any of our projects, we will be fired. We will be out of business so fast. And it's true. You just, when they built that, Alistair McKenzie, when he built that stuff back when they got it, because of the Berkmans, they were the nursery. They owned the nursery where they built the golf course, and that's where the Berkman place comes from. That's why all the holes are named after different species of plants. When they looked at that, I mean, the maintenance practices were totally different. If you go back and look at the old photos and how the golf course is maintained and how mowers have changed and the cutting height and everything like that, they had to put that movement in the greens to make them interesting. Today, it's just the equipment's so good and the superintendents are so good, and they want these speeds as perfect, and that's what makes for interesting greens today.
Yeah, they were designed for stimp meter readings like 6 and 7, and they're
they're
putting them at 13 and 14. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we have this year of 2020. It's created a boom in golf. Obviously, you say you've never been as busy as you are before. When you look on the horizon, what do you see for CE Designs and the design business, and where do you think the state of the game of golf is headed?
We have. I'm a member of the American Society of Golf Course Architects, and we have our annual meetings, and I just went up to actually Wisconsin, and now we don't have our large annual meetings, so we're doing a lot of regional meetings. And I think everybody is kind of talking about, hey, what is this? Is this just a blimp on the radar, or do we actually see a true trend here, something changing? And I think a lot of us feel like that there is going to be a change. We see people reinvesting. We see more short courses. We feel like we look at the next 2 years of work that we know is coming up, it looks like next year is going to be a busy year, and the year after that could be a potentially good year too. Is that finally people are reinvesting? What happened in 2008 and 2010? We overbuilt golf courses. We overbuilt them everywhere, and as an architect, we were a part of it. I mean, if you stop and think about it, when Craig and I were working together, here we went and built Falcon Ridge and then Prairie Highlands, and you had all these golf courses popping up all over because National Golf Foundation came out and said, hey, you got to build a golf course a day, open a golf course a day for the next 3 or 5 years, and people went crazy, and we overbuilt, and so I think now some golf courses have closed. I think what you're seeing today, and a little bit of the COVID, that you're seeing families are going back into clubs, and most clubs are pretty full today. And the reason why is people want to be in a safe environment. They feel like that mom likes to know where the kids are at, and they want to be hanging out at the clubs, and they want to be around the golf courses. So I think this is a good trend for golf. I mean, this is one time this pandemic that the golf industry is coming out on the positive side. And if there's anything that comes out of this, I mean, there's so many things, so many businesses that have just taken a hit and have really impacted what they're doing. This is just one thing that it has helped this industry, the golf industry, for sure.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.